Everybody, I have been dying to talk to you guys about this book. It's 13 Reasons Why by Jay Asher. And this book, straight off the bat, I'm going to tell you, 5 stars. Like, this book, when I wasn't reading this book, I was thinking about this book. Let me read to you a little flap, la la la, like that. Clay Jensen's first love records her last words. Dun dun dun. Clay Jensen returns home from school to find a strange package with his name on it lying on his porch. Inside, he discovers several cassette tapes recorded by Hannah Baker, his classmate and crush, who committed suicide 2 weeks earlier. Hannah's voice tells him that there are 13 reasons why she decided to end her life, and Clay is one of them. If he listens, he'll find out why. Clay spends the night crisscrossing his town with Hannah as his guide. He becomes a first-hand witness to Hannah's pain and learns the truth about himself, a truth he never wanted to face. So that's it. I seriously can't even tell you how great this book was. One cool thing that I will tell you about this book, straight off the bat, is that it's got the map. Because Hannah's tapes... Okay, so why don't I give you a little background here. So Hannah killed herself, and she leaves behind these tapes that she's sending. There's like an order to it, and basically everybody who gets these tapes has like a role on these tapes, which is everybody who gets the tapes basically is part of the reason why she decided to kill herself. And through listening to these tapes, they kind of understand why what they did kind of affected her. And so she basically tells them to go to these places where the event happened that like really affected her, like the place that they were when they did something to her that bummed her out, basically. And gosh, it was such a great story. It was like, the writing was just so great. Like, by reading it, I could literally like hear Hannah's voice through the speakers, and I could really feel Clay's emotions as he's listening through and hearing all these stories and all this stuff that he didn't even know ever happened, and just like listening through Hannah's point of view. And it was just so real, like listening to it, reading it really, because I wasn't listening to it, but I was so in the story, and just I just pictured like everybody's faces like when they heard these tapes, and how it probably just like crumbled their insides, because they probably had no idea that something so silly that they thought that they were doing had such a crazy effect. She kept calling it the snowball effect, and it ranged from like serious stuff, like people just groping her and, you know, talking badly to her, or just some silly thing like putting her on a who's hot, who's not list. And it was just like crazy, because it was, some of the stuff was just, you know, it would seem so silly to somebody, but it really like affected her. And it wasn't just the things that they did, but like the repercussions of their actions. And sometimes what really like kind of brought it home for me was sometimes it's not things that you do to someone, it's things that you don't do. Like maybe you don't say hi to that person, or, you know, you don't ask them how they're doing and really listen, you know, because there's a lot of people that are just like, oh, hey, how are you? But they don't really listen to what you have to say. You know, you could be like, well, you know, I'm not doing great. You know, my life is crumbling before your eyes, and, you know, they wouldn't even hear you. And one thing that I liked about it was, and I kind of make this clear in other reviews I've done, is I don't really like stories that, like, beat you with a lot of descriptions. This book didn't really do that. It didn't really talk about anybody's, like, physical features. Not really anything that stood out anyway, but it kind of allowed me to, because you hear things that are so personal about people, it kind of allowed me to picture what they look like in my mind based on their personality. And sometimes it was really good, and sometimes it wasn't really good. And, you know, I had a clear picture of them in my mind without Jay Asher ever having to say what they look like, because through their personality, I was able to put such a clear picture in my mind of what these people look like. The only thing, my only problem with this book is that I wouldn't recommend it for anyone under 16. Some of the things in it, whoa, hello, hair. Some of the things in it were just so heavy and hard to read. Well, it wasn't hard to read and, like, hard to get through, but it was just like, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe this girl had to go through these things, like, how horrible. I didn't actually cry, but I thought about crying. So there's something. There's just some really heavy stuff, some real serious stuff that I think only mature audiences should read. But another thing is, like, I would hate to think that somebody would feel like the only way to really tell somebody what you thought of them and how they're affecting you is by doing what Hannah did. You know, there are other ways to put bad people in their place other than what Hannah did, which I think had to really probably hit them pretty hard. And so I just worry that the book would get misread by somebody who isn't mature enough to handle it and think that, well, if I did this, then people would really have to listen to me. And that's not the case. So I just have to say this book was incredible. And if you are looking for a read that will make you think, this is an amazing book. I was really excited to read it, but once I started reading it, it was like, done. I, like, had to finish it because I had to. It was so good. So good. So, that's all I have to say. Read this book, 13 Reasons Why, Jay Asher. Please do. And if you have read it, sorry, I'm like, if you have read this book, please let me know in the comments below what you thought. If you agree with me, don't agree with me, I want to know. But for those of you looking for a good book, 13 Reasons Why, Jay Asher. Okay, talk to you later. Reading, where did I put it? Hunger Games next. I know a lot of people have read this book, reviewed this book, so came out on paperback, so I figured, why not? So, Hunger Games review coming soon. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.